Hello there, everybody. This is Alan Feldman from the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. The program you're watching is Black in Laguna Woods, another segment of Black in Laguna Woods. And while we're recording this, it's in the middle of the holiday season. Starts Thanksgiving, goes to New Year. Now, pretty much everyone in this country celebrates Thanksgiving and New Year's, but there's also between that, there's Christmas, which some people celebrate. There's Hanukkah, which some people celebrate. And there's Kwanzaa, which some people celebrate. I think most people are pretty familiar whether they celebrate, Christmas and Hanukkah, whether they celebrate those holidays, they're pretty familiar with them. But how about Kwanzaa? I think Kwanzaa is a mystery to most people. So we have a couple of people to discuss Kwanzaa with us today. I'm going to talk about what Kwanzaa is, what it means, how it's celebrated, what it means to the community, and how the community celebrates it. We're going to have with us Annie McCrary. Annie is going to tell us what Kwanzaa is. Annie was on this program just last week, and she is the president of the African American Heritage Club. And we are very grateful that she's able to come back just in a month's time and be with us again. And to tell us how Kwanzaa is celebrated, we have Sandra Towns Ward. Now, she'll look familiar if you watched the show before. She's been on maybe 3-4 times, always has great insight and interesting things to say. She was responsible for putting on the African American Heritage Clubs, or primarily responsible, one of the people primarily responsible for putting on the African American Heritage Club celebration of Kwanzaa. So she's going to tell us how we celebrate Kwanzaa, what it represents, what it means. So we're going to get started here in just a minute. I'm going to talk first with Annie McCrary. Annie, tell us what's the meaning of Kwanzaa? When we celebrate Kwanzaa, there's symbolisms, there's rituals. What's the meaning of that? What's the meaning of those rituals? What do they represent?
Well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the meaning of Kwanzaa, because that was your first question. So Kwanzaa is a Swahili word meaning first harvest or first fruit of the season. So that first fruit, Kwanzaa represents that. And so it's been a tradition since the early 60s, when Kwanzaa was sort of formalized in the United States. And it was formalized by a professor of Black Studies at Cal State Long Beach, Dr. Mulana Korenge. That's as close as I can get to his name. So I won't be pronouncing in many of the Swahili words, just in honor of them. My pronunciation may not do them justice. So Dr. Mulana developed Kwanzaa, and it kind of birthed in the 60s after the Watts riots in Los Angeles. He developed and implemented a strategy for bringing Black people together to honor our culture and our heritage in a way that we could unite and not so much be victims all the times of circumstances, but to take some responsibility for our own selves and our community. And out of that birthed the celebration of Kwanzaa. Now, oftentimes when I've seen YouTube videos about Kwanzaa, and there's this conception or misconception that Kwanzaa is a holiday. And it's not a holiday, it's a 7-day celebration that starts December 26th, which is after Christmas, and it goes through December 31st, which is before New Year's. So that 7-day celebration is how we honor Kwanzaa. So it is a celebration, and it's often referred to as a holiday, but it's not an official holiday.
And the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, could you explain that? That seems to me to be the crux of the celebration. So what are these 7 principles? What do they represent?
Kwanzaa is actually rooted in those 7 principles, which strives to inspire Black people to be united, self-determined, accountable for their communities, financially involved in banks and businesses, purposeful with our lives, creative, and full of faith. So those are the principles, and each one of them has a specific designation. So in the celebration of Kwanzaa, we honor the 7 principles. And we do that. I don't know if you can see the Kinara behind me with
Yes, we can.
the 7 candles. And so the significance of the 7 candles, the colors are red, green, and black. And so the black candle, which represents unity, is the first candle that's lit at the beginning of Kwanzaa. And the black symbolizes the color of the people and the movement itself. So the black candle sits in the middle of the candle holder, the menorah. And the red candles represents bloodshed. And this is the abbreviated course on Kwanzaa. The red candle represents the bloodshed of the people, and the green candle signifies prosperity and hope for the future. And so the 3 colors are the colors of the candles, and the 7 candles represent the 7 principles. And I can briefly tell you a little bit about each one of the principles.
Please, yes.
So the first principle is unity. And that's always the first candle that's lit in the black candle. And when we talk about unity, what we're referring to is joining together as a family, as a community, and as a race. And then the next candle represents self-determination, and not specifically in any color color after that. So the first one is always the black one, and then we go from the black ones to the red ones or the green ones. So the next one is self-determination. It represents that. And what that means is just taking responsibility for our own future, for our own selves in our own community. The next one is collective work and responsibility, building a community together and solving our problems as a group instead of looking outward to some other organization to solve our problems. That's what that one represents. The next candle that we light, and we light 1 candle each day. And the next one is cooperative economics. And that is basically, it refers to community building and profiting from our own businesses. And then the next candle is purpose. The goal of working together to build community and future African culture. And then the next one represents creativity. And that basically using new ideas to create a more beautiful and a successful community. And then the last candle represents faith, which is honoring African ancestors, traditions, and leaders, and celebrating past triumphs over adversity. And that's the last candle that is lit. And after the last candle, on the last day of Kwanzaa, there's generally a big celebration, where people come together in groups, and there's lots of music, there's lots of food, there's lots of dancing, there's gift giving. It's an amazing, amazing celebration to end the 7 days of Kwanzaa.
So this is a celebration, a very forward outgoing looking celebration, the way you're describing it. It's
Yes.
extolling the virtues of what's happened and what's been passed. I wonder, I'm thinking of, I wonder if it goes the same way. I'm thinking of holidays, take like Christmas. Some people celebrate it as a secular holiday. Some people celebrate it as a religious holiday. Some people celebrate it as both. Do people celebrate Kwanzaa? Do they celebrate? Do they celebrate it? Is it always celebrated in a positive way, or is some people kind of looking at the other direction? We're celebrating our resilience as to all these things that have gone on in our culture and our history. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I guess does anybody look at it? I want to say negatively, but as a remembrance rather than as a forward-looking celebration. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I can tell you, my experience with Kwanzaa it's been positive. And I tell you, one of the great things about celebrating Kwanzaa, it's not tied to any religion. So whatever religion that a person may ascribe to, Kwanzaa is not associated or affiliated or connected with any religion. And if you look at the principles that we celebrate, they are principles that anyone can work with and strive for. The principles are very positive, very affirming to our culture. So I don't know of anyone who has a negative experience with Kwanzaa. And there are people that don't celebrate it for whatever their reasons are. But if you look at what it represents and the spirit in which it was developed and in the spirit in the way it's celebrated, I find it very difficult to have a negative connotation on it if you look at what it's representing and if you really delve into the principles.
And I'm going to ask you one last question about Kwanzaa, and that is, in your opinion, I'm looking for your opinion, your feelings. What do you think what does it stand for in the African American community, the Black community? What does Kwanzaa stand for? How do you look at it? What does it mean? What's the meaning to many people in that community of Kwanzaa?
What I know of and the people that I have interacted with is a very, very positive experience. It's almost like a family reunion sometimes, where in a neighborhood where you may not see your neighbors a lot, but doing Kwanzaa is an opportunity to get to know your neighbors. It's an opportunity to do outreach. It's just really a positive experience all the way around, especially if you start your day with one of those principles. I would think it would be very difficult if you wake up in the morning and you light a candle for unity within yourself and unity within your family and your community. Then when you go out and share a sweet potato pie with your neighbor, or you share, a couple of ears of corn or a handful of peanuts or pecan with your neighbor, it doesn't lend itself to a negative experience.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much. Really appreciate you being here. Annie was on our program just last month and is in her role as president of the African American Heritage Club. And this is a crazy time of year for everybody, so I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us again today and discussing Kwanzaa. Annie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Stanford Town Board, let me ask you, how is Kwanzaa celebrated? And is it, I know it's celebrated in different parts of the country. It's actually celebrated in different parts of the world. Is it celebrated the same way everywhere? And just how it's celebrated, how is it celebrated here?
Well, Kwanzaa is a celebration of families and communities. And over the 7 days of Kwanzaa, there are different types of activities that go on. Families and communities get together to bond, to share feasts, to honor the ancestors, and the affirm bonds between them and celebrate African American culture. And so it's over the 7-day period. Each day they come together and they light a candle to highlight the principle of that day. And you had already mentioned about the principles, the 7 principles, and I can go over that now. Sure. Again, the 7 principles that they highlight each day. And the first principle is a principle of unity. And that's to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. And that represented on the Kinara, which is a candle holder, and there's 7 candles. And in the middle is the black candle, which is the first candle that's lit on the first day of Kwanzaa celebration. That's on the 26th of December. And then the next candle represents, the red candle is self-determination. And the next one is collective work and responsibility. The next is cooperative economics. The next one is purpose. The next is creativity. And the last one is faith. So each day, normally what they do in And the festival celebration is they have one of the children light a candle each day. And in that, they will review the principle of that day, and then they will discuss it and talk about it. And also during one of the things during the Kwanzaa celebration, they have storytelling, and it's more educational event as well. They have storytelling, poetry, song, one of the and a feast. They gather around and have a dinner or a feast, and then more, and also music. So it's just an affirmation and a celebration of our culture, and it can be customized to whatever the situation. Some of the Kwanzaa festivals that I've seen were in a community center, and they have large gatherings. But most of them I gather are mostly in family settings, where families get together and create their own Kwanzaa festival for each day. So that's the basic of how it's done.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but you said that there was storytelling, songs, and so forth.
There's storytelling, which occurs at various times during the Kwanzaa. It may be on different days, but they do have, it's incorporated as far as the festival is poetry and storytelling, and it's more of an educational event that I've experienced and see.
What kind of stories and songs? Are there specific Kwanzaa stories and songs, or are they adapted?
No, it's not just a Kwanzaa type. It's more about a cultural. It could be an African a story, or I don't know of specifics of, but there are many poems that have been written about Kwanzaa. And so they may review, and it's I think it's mainly an education of our African heritage and our roots, going back to different events that have occurred in Africa or villages or whatever. So I think that's what it's basically about, not a specific Kwanzaa type story, but a basic African American type cultural story.
And these stories would seemingly, I'm guessing these stories would relate to the 7 principles of
they relate to the 7 principles and also to the African heritage as well. So, because it's been for most of us, we lost our connection to our African roots when we came over here in slave ships.
Yes.
So and a lot of the African culture we didn't get in school. So this is a way of educating our children and our African Americans that live here or in whatever country it's being celebrated in.
Right. I think it just answered this question, but I'll ask it anyway. What is important to the African American culture? The culture of Black people in America. How is Kwanzaa important to that? What does it mean? What does Kwanzaa mean to African Americans?
Well, I can speak for what I feel that I've noticed, that it speaks to us getting a self-identity. That's what I feel, and where we come from. It's been like a long time away from our roots and our heritage, because when we came over here in slave ships, we were indoctrinated to this society, and also I feel it's a way to for us to get together and bond, so we have some commonality with our other fellow African Americans. So we notice too, and I noticed too, there's pride in the Irish and the Polish and other ethnic groups that are here. And so, but we were kind of splintered when we came here because we were divided. And so I think it's bringing us back to where we came and our ancestors that, we probably didn't read about or hear about in our education in our schools.
And let me go local. Bring it down to the local. Because, Sandra is one of the people in the African American Heritage Club who was responsible for organizing, producing, and putting on the Kwanzaa celebration, the African American Heritage Club, which happened just before we recorded this. So I want you to just tell us a little bit about that, how it went. How difficult the job is it? Is it a lot of these things are like herding cats, getting everybody together, and getting something arranged. So just what kind of celebration was it, and how did it go?
Well, first of all, we wanted to create an event to portray Kwanzaa, and one of the things that we had to do is come together and find out how we were going to present it. And we have a very small number of African Americans here, but we also wanted to invite others so they can experience Kwanzaa as well. So and my part was I've never seen a Kwanzaa celebration before. I lived in the Bay Area and they had some, but I never got an opportunity to go to any of them. So I thought it would be a good idea, to try to start one here in the village and look at. So I had to look through different videos and other material to see how it's actually celebrated and how to create it. So I set up what I wanted to do, and I wanted to give a background history of Kwanzaa. So I researched and put together a little brief history of it, how it got started, and then and I think we went over. You might have went over how it started from the creator of Milana Karenga from Cal State University in Long Beach, and it was aftermath of the Watts riot that he wanted to have some kind of program, a celebration to get everybody back feeling good about themselves and create a unity among African Americans. And I know if we've experienced and knew about what was going on with the Watts riot and what happened in LA and how it spread throughout the country in riots. So he wanted to see others to see African Americans in a different light and how they were proud of themselves and feel that they were somebody. So, and I was very interested in that, that concept. So I, got the background and I found some videos that I got together and I showed one of them at our Kwanzaa celebration. And then I thought about creating a little mini feast and getting together, food to enjoy and also music. We had music and as well as poetry reading. So I found some poems and to, have some of our members recite, and then also have an interactive experience from our audience. And we had several people that came. We had about 35 people that attended, and it was a variety of people that showed up. So and they were involved in just learning about our cultures. So I thought that was very interesting, the variety of people. We got a wide spectrum of people that showed up, and that was very enlightening as well. So that was basically what I did, and it was very short, and I tried to compress it because normally Kwanzaa is held over 7 days, so you have to fit 7 days worth of festivities or events that might have occurred in an hour and a half program. So
A slice of it rather than
just give a slice of it, and there were probably some things that could have had in there, but during the time constraints. So I just wanted to give them an idea of how it's celebrated in a condensed form.
And I just have one other question, because there's always running out of time. We always run out of time. But it's My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Kwanzaa is not an exclusatory, that's the right word, celebration. I mean, if you celebrate Christmas, if you celebrate Hanukkah, if you don't celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah, doesn't preclude you from celebrating Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa
Well,
is a whole
it's a whole different,
holiday.
yeah, it's a whole, right. And that's why it was created after the Christmas holiday, started on the 26th to not coincide with the Christmas holiday in over 7 days, I guess. So, and it was also in mind not to involve commercialism, where people are running around and trying to buy gifts and things that, although on Kwanzaa, a lot of Kwanzaa celebrations, on the last day, they do, some of the groups and communities will have gifts of books, educational, that they give to the children, or other types of things that, but not anything. And also they encourage them to get gifts or books or material from African-American businesses. They wanted to promote community-wise. In larger communities, in larger cities, they do have African-American bookstores, art stores, things like that. So they wanted that to be incorporated as part of the Kwanzaa gift-giving portion of it.
Right. Well, Sandra, thank you so much. Really, it's so much appreciated. Sit to Annie. I know it's a crazy time of year, so we really appreciate you taking the time.
I know.
And explaining it. And again, to Annie McCrary and to Sandra Towns-Woods, thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate the work you do throughout Laguna Woods. Now, again, just very quickly, both Annie and Sandra, when they spoke about their opinions and experiences, were speaking for themselves. They're not representing any organization or club. Mm-hmm. But of course, when they're speaking about the celebration was put on by the African American Heritage Club, which Annie McCrary is currently the president, and Sandra Towns-Woods, a longtime member, and also was responsible for putting on the Kwanzaa celebration. Mm. So I want to make that clear. But thank you all very much for being here. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the information. Now we know more than just the name of Kwanzaa. We have an idea of what it's about. And the only thing to say is to both of you, Annie McCrary, Sandra Towns-Woods, and to everybody watching, I hope you have a joyous Kwanzaa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.